Okay, the next question concerns more of an artistic decision that I made. A typograph writes, how come that you decided not to include the huge and overdramatic villain agony scene? What he's referring to is just as our final group was entering Skynet, I faded to white, and then I jumped immediately to the aftermath. And obviously that was a very conscious artistic decision that I made. Several factors went into that, not the least of which is that we've just had an hour worth of almost continuous battles going on. And to be perfectly honest, with all the battles that we've had throughout Season 3 and Season 4, I was kind of getting tired of writing battles. But that aside, the fact of the matter is that I knew that whatever battle was going to happen with Skynet, within Skynet, was going to look an awful lot like the battle that happened in Return of the Jedi, inside the shield generator where they come in. You know, there's weapons and explosives being planted and things like that. Sure, there was going to be a lot of close-in fighting with Endos. But my thought was that you all would probably imagine something way better than anything that I could reasonably come up with. I could imagine something better than something that I could actually write onto the page. And my feeling was that there are certain times when you just have to let the audience make up its own part of the story. And that was one of them. Because aren't you all curious as to why T. Goodnow lost her organic covering from the elbows? Why Allison got burned so badly? Why Tawny didn't get injured seemingly at all? You know, and things like that. It's enough clues that you're going to make a way more interesting battle. And it's going to be your battle. It won't be the one that I said. The outcome will be the same. And fundamentally, that's all that really matters. You know who lived. You know some of the aftermath. But the rest of it, well, I kind of left that up to you. It wasn't me copping out. It was a very deliberate artistic choice. Because I thought about how I was going to present it. But I just thought that at that point, even though it would have been writ large, I think it would have been, nothing I could have done would have matched your expectations at that point. Just because it was a confined space. Yeah, so that was the choice that I made. I typograph, boy, Alex, you were writing a lot, asked again, and what made you not kill anyone from the final 6? Oh, well, first off, Cameron was off the chopping block. I had to promise my mom very early on that I would not kill Cameron. She was the guarantee. She was the one character out of all of them that early on was guaranteed to survive. Regardless of who won the war, she was going to survive. Since I had a final scene in mind with John and Cameron, that implied that John was going to live. So those two were taken care of. In the forum, I answered that Allison was iffy, and she really, really was. But I'd kind of made a pact with myself after she had gotten kidnapped that I was going to stop dumping on Allison. And so I just couldn't bring myself to kill Allison, because that has just been one thing too many to do to her. And plus, Allison died in Allison from Palmdale. And I thought that, you know, as tragic as I made Derek and Kyle and Sarah and other characters, I wanted one of them to actually make it through, and that one was going to be Allison. So that was that. T. Goodnow making it through, that was because I needed a senior officer who was a T0K, who wasn't Cameron, to survive. And I lost pretty much everything. I think I still had T. Lisa up in the Virginia Lakes Canyon region, I think. I'd have to look it up. But other than that, the only one left was T. Goodnow. And in order to continue the war that's still going to be going on, just because Skynet's dead doesn't mean the war's over, I needed a K who was in charge and would command respect. So she was it. Tawny, as I said, didn't get a scratch. And well, partly that was because it's funny. It's kind of like a Great Race sort of deal where Tony Curtis goes all the way through and doesn't get a pie thrown at him, or Cyrano Jones in The Trouble with Tribbles when he goes all the way through and doesn't get involved in the fight. And also, Tawny reminded me an awful lot of my daughter Like These, and I just really couldn't bring myself to perpetrate harm on her. She's kind of the next generation of the resistance. She's been coached since the beginning. She's kind of the next in the long line of Sarah Connor's lineage, because Sarah Connor taught John and she taught Savannah. Savannah has taught Tawny. And so that's just the continuation. Alejandra was on the chopping block, and I mentioned this also in the forum, that Alejandra was actually scheduled to die in episode 22, maybe a little before. But I kept putting it off. I kept wanting Alejandra to be there for one more thing. And as I was blocking out season 4, she was useful in that she is a loner, so I could have, and she's very well trained, so I could have her be the trusted reconnaissance, the one-person scout who could go out and find out things that you couldn't with a scouting team. And also somebody that John would trust implicitly. As a result, Alejandra kept getting more and more continuations on her execution. Until finally at the end I went, we've made it this far, I might as well let her live too. And that was me wimping out a little bit, because I just took too long to kill her. So that's why the final 6 survived. Just kind of worked out that way. Okay, I'll continue with questions in the next video.